Late yesterday, the Globe and Mail reported that the Trudeau Liberals will be reversing a previous Harper-era cabinet order that would have prevented a Chinese electronics company from completing a takeover of a Montreal-based electronics company called ITF Technologies, formerly Avensis. ITF is a fiber laser company. Fiber laser is used in telecommunications, industrial applications, and even some military uses. The Chinese firm O-Net Communications is actually Hong Kong-based, but over 25% of its ownership is held by a subsidiary of the Chinese state-run China Electronics Corporation. It is likely that factor that led to the then Conservative government in July 2015 to order an unwinding of the proposed deal, just 5 months after it had been originally approved. At the time, the Tories' justification for nixing the deal was centered around the fact it would, quote, be injurious to national security, unquote. At least that is what was said according to O-Net. If you recall, back in 2013, the Chinese state-owned oil company CNOOC Limited completed a takeover of Canadian energy company Nexen. It was at that time that Prime Minister Harper vowed to end the trend of state-owned firms buying up companies in our oil sands. And while this deal was not for an oil sands company, I think it is likely in line with the Tory policy at the time to be weary of state-owned, or in this case state-influenced companies from dictatorships like China heavily investing in Canadian companies and technologies. So that leaves us with the decision of the current Trudeau government to reverse the Harper government order. But why? After the Tories made the call to unwind the deal, O-Net appealed, and in November of last year, the Liberals responded, without much attention, to the appeal by agreeing to set aside the previous government's order and have the Minister for Innovation, Science and Economic Development, Navdeep Bains, conduct his own review of the transaction. I gotta tell you, this is a worrying trend. We all know China is Justin Trudeau's favorite basic dictatorship, but when the company in question has such close ties to the Chinese government, the technology company they are acquiring could have military applications, and the previous government determined that the deal should be unwound due to national security issues, it seems like Trudeau and the Liberals are being awfully flippant with such a serious foreign policy matter, doesn't it? Well, Conservative foreign affairs critic Peter Kent agrees, and he was quoted in the Globe story as saying, quote, it's certainly in line with the Liberals' rush to please the Chinese at every level and encourage Chinese investment. And it was pretty important divestment order by our government, unquote. Kent also acknowledged the menacing actions of China currently as, quote, the Chinese drive to militarize the South China Sea, unquote. While we don't know the potential military applications of the technology, we must remember that China does not look at business deals like this the same way a traditional Western capitalist does. It is not about profits and sharing them with the shareholders. In many cases, it's about Chinese nationalism, militarism, and power. That is why the Conservatives are right to be skeptical of these deals, despite the questioning of their free market principles. For the current government, we are seeing a very worrying trend, frankly. Chinese state influence is growing by the day in our country. If it's not fancy fundraisers with Chinese millionaires being attended by the Prime Minister, it's the influx of mainland Chinese capital into our real estate markets that is wreaking havoc. All of this results in the ceding of Canadian sovereignty little by little. And eventually, before you know it, Chinese warships are entering Canadian ports, or we are raising the communist Chinese flag at Vancouver City Hall, then accusing everyone who feels uncomfortable by these events as a racist xenophobe. Look, the time has come to take a strong stand against China with Donald Trump set to enter office. But sadly, if there is anything Canadians have learned about our globalist Prime Minister, is that he feels the need to be some sort of strange counterbalance to Trump. So I predict Canada will actually look to closer ties with communist China. Something that will have Beijing singing the praises of Little Potato as they eat away at Canadian sovereignty. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Thanks so much for watching. You know, China is a big issue right now, and I've made it a goal of mine to report honestly and fairly and give you the other side of the story that the media party won't give you on issues like China. So if you like what we're doing, click subscribe on that YouTube channel.